Welcome into a Christmas Day edition of Locked On 76ers. Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta. Sixers got their 5-game road trip coming up. We're going to break all that down and try to find a way, crack a code here to get this team playing together, including when the big three is on the floor. All that and more in this edition of Locked On 76ers.
You are Locked On 76ers, your daily Philadelphia 76ers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And we do thank you for making Locked On 76ers your first listen every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and now the number one sports podcast network out there. Your 76ers beat writer, beat reporter, Keith Pompey, Marc Farzetta, Philly sports talker. Great catching up with you guys as per usual. And we thank you guys for joining us throughout this fine year when talking 76ers basketball. We got the road trip to talk about. We got playing together, and we got role players and what their roles really are going forward for this season. And maybe a little bit later, I'll ask Keith Pompey what his favorite Christmas gift was ever in his life. We'll talk about that also on the show. But Keith, here's the way it looks for the people watching, not for the people on the podcast. I apologize. This is visual. Here is the schedule for the 76ers on this 5-game road trip. Friday, they're going to get they're in Chicago, then they're in OKC, then they're in Memphis, then they're in Dallas, then they're back at Madison Square Garden on January 3rd to take on the New York Knicks again. That's the 5-game road trip right now. Chicago's been in free fall. Oklahoma City, best team in the NBA, who has gotten their butts handed to them. You reminded me of how the Spurs have taken it to them. Memphis, Dallas, New York, always a thorn in their side despite the recent success against the Knicks. That's what the Sixers have coming up. Keith, how you feeling about this team as they're going into this road trip?
You know what? It's weird because initially I'm looking at it like, hey, you got 2 good games, 2 quality teams in the Knicks and OKC, and you already defeated the Knicks. So you say to yourself, like, I think that you should play well. But then when you look at Chicago, Chicago is 14-15 right now, but they're on a 4-game winning streak right now. So they're kind of like hot a little bit. But at the same time, I do feel like if the Sixers play to their ability, what they're capable of doing, and the ball moves, I do think that they should have a chance of beating beating the Bulls, right? But I also think that Memphis, that's another team that's okay, but I think they should be able to beat Memphis as well, right? So, we look at Dallas. They should beat Dallas. I look at it, the 76ers is going to be, a 5-game road trip? I think that the 76ers should finish 3-2. You think so? The only swing game, I think, should be the first game against Chicago. Let's see what they're going to do. Now, here's something else that I'm going to mention. Joel Embiid did hyperextend his knee. He came back and played, so we really didn't talk too much about it yesterday.
Yeah.
But my thing is, how is that knee going to feel? What is Joel Embiid going to do? Right now they look better without him. I hate to say it, but at the same time, we want to know what his availability is going to be for this road trip.
I was surprised in that game against the Nets. I was surprised when he hit the floor. It looked like he stepped on, I forget who it was, but somebody else's foot, lost his footing, went to the ground, and then had to go back to the locker room, unfortunately, before he came back to the floor. I was surprised, and to your point, it is all about how he responds to that, not just in the moment, but the next day. So I'm curious what his availability is going to be. Now, when you do look at the schedule going forward here, you don't have a back-to-back on this 5-game road trip. Now, I don't know if that matters as much as it used to because it just seems to be so very fluid as far as the availability of Joel Embiid. But one thing you can't deny is how different this team is when Joel Embiid is playing. And I've seen it from national writers as well. The Athletic put something out on it as well with Joel Embiid. And I know in the analytics age, I know when everyone has access to every number imaginable, it's hard to say anything about the eye test. But if you're, I hate to say even old school, but if you're even good school, Keith Pompey, you can't tell me that the version of basketball the 76ers are playing with Joel Embiid and even Paul George, with the big three in total, is anything close to the level of play that they are when it's Maxey, Edgecomb, and maybe even PG involved as well.
Yeah, and that's the thing, because PG is he's a guy who can assimilate. We talked about that yesterday as well.
Chameleon.
Chameleon. He can do certain things, and he brings it on the defensive end. I mean, prime example, Michael Porter was torching him. In the second half, PG got on him. He only had 3 points on 1 for 6 shooting. So, he can do those. But, yeah, they just got to get it together, and they gotta play well. Here's the thing, that when we talk about this road trip too, I asked Paul after Tuesday game, is this a barometer for you guys, this trip? Or do you look at it like we have so many moving pieces and we don't have, got certain guys back and other guys are coming back, that is still too early? And he thought about it and he was like, I'm going to say that it's still a little bit too early because, right now we're playing well, we're being extremely competitive, but we don't have all our guys like other teams. So I will give them that. But at the same time, it is still slightly a little barometer just because we're going to see, well, this is what when you get your guys back, or some of the things that you're going to have to be able to do. Now, if they go out there and they perform well, then we're saying, okay, the Sixers may have a pretty good team, So it is what it is, but this is a big trip to me in my eyes for the Sixers.
Oh, I agree. It's like a 5-game road trip at this point in the season is huge. And I know you're not going up against juggernauts, but like I look at that Bulls game. Let's just look at the first game here. Last time the Sixers played the Bulls, they were blowing them out and then blew it. Like that, that's got to be in the back of your mind going into this. Like, all right, you always got to keep your pedal to the metal, foot on the gas, all that stuff can't let up. But it's difficult to do that when you're still trying to learn how to play with other people. So when you talk about Joel Embiid and that style and Paul George and whether or not you get VJ Edgecomb back for Friday and all that, that's still up in the air. But you have to find that brand of basketball that Tyrese Maxey talked about before the season even started. And I know I reference it a lot. I know the team references it a lot, making a promo out of it and all that. But it feels like it's impossible to keep that up-tempo style, that fast style. It's impossible to keep that up with Joel Embiid. And I'm not saying that Tyrese Maxey struggles from the floor, it's Joel Embiid's fault. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying one looks like a much better brand of basketball that you can make the playoffs with. The other seems like it's a rehab assignment using real regular season games for Joel Embiid. And to distill that even further, is this just the way we have to look at it when it comes to trying to get Joel Embiid back to any level of play that he was at beforehand, where you could talk about the consistently dominant player that we saw him throughout his career? Do you need this kind of season from him to test both knees, I guess, get them strong again, get his conditioning up so that you could see a higher level of play for him like we saw in years past?
You know what? That's a great question, Mark, but I don't see anything out there that's going to tell me if you don't play Joel Embiid minutes and you wait until the postseason, that is going to be any different than what we're seeing right now. So with that being said, meaning like, Joel's going to turn around still thinking he's that guy, right? So meaning to me, I do think that this is important because of that, because what's going to happen is you have to find a common ground. We all know that Joel slows things up a little bit and is not a knock to him. I think I would slow things up too if I had as many surgeries on my knees as he had, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? He has to find a different way of playing. But at the same time, the one thing that we can't think about, we can't overlook, is that he can still become a bucket. Now, does he have the lift that he used to? No, right? Does he have the same lateral movement? No. But for a big, he can shoot the ball very well. He still knows how to get to the foul line, draws these fouls, and then, he's a very good free-throw shooter. So I think that you have to find a common ground at certain times where you give him the ball. Now, personally, in order to find that common ground, he has to go down in the paint more often than what he does. Like, you can't be standing out there looking at PG and VJ Edgecomb talking about, yo, man, I think you got a crumb on your shoulder. You're so close to him, right? Like, you got to go down in the paint and do certain things and take advantage of that mismatch.
Yeah, I think the overall thing, again, getting back to the eye test of all of it, is just watching this, you can't tell me that it's a better brand of basketball. And look, and I hate the phrase, it just looks different. It's like when somebody tells you, trust me on this. Like, no, I don't trust anybody. Sorry. It's not just a you thing. I don't trust anybody. But it's like, trust me, it'll work. Like, no, I don't trust. Like, trust me, it's different. I hate to say it. I really do hate that phrase, but it's just different. And it's not as good. And what you're watching with Embiid and Edgecomb was sick. He couldn't play the last game against the Nets. You're watching a better brand of basketball. You're watching a brand of basketball that just seems like it is something that you can hold on to for the foreseeable future rather than trying to go back in a time machine and capture something that just isn't there anymore. That's honestly what it feels like. And it also feels like when you do try to get something more out of Embiid, you're looking at the next couple of games or next couple of days where he's really got to kind of recover from it. And then maybe get you another 20 points, 25 points, 10 rebounds, whatever it might be, and then shut it down again. It feels like we're in a car that's stalling right now.
Yeah, and it's sad too, because unless he comes out and has a lot of great games, I feel like there are going to be certain people that say, because they were saying that last night or 2 nights ago at the game, they were like, man, this is different. Man, like, we need for this team, we need a center, who runs the floor, gets lobs, and who's a shot blocker. You know what I mean? Like, that's what we need to complement the guards. So, whenever he has these type of games, the games that he had the last one, that's what people are talking about, so you kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah. And to go back to the numbers again, the numbers look good for Embiid. They look okay for Paul George, but terrible for Tyrese Maxey, and terrible also for your other guard in that game against the Nets in Jared McCain. Not that I'm banking on Jared McCain to drop you 30 or anything like that, but it's an eye test thing, and the Sixers don't pass it, unfortunately. When we come back, I do want to talk about the idea of getting these guys all on the same page with you, Keith. We'll break that down when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. And right now, I want to tell you about Prize Picks. This is a good time. Prize Picks. You're taking advantage of all Prize Picks has to offer. This episode, by the way, is brought to you by Prize Picks. Holiday season, one of the best times for sports with bowl games, big basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once. It's almost too much, but it is exciting. Prize Picks makes it that much more exciting. Prize Picks is the easiest way to get in on daily fantasy. You just pick more or less on player stat projections, at least 2. You lock in your lineup and you're in the game. It's simple, it's fast, and available in 45 states, including California, Texas, Florida, and Georgia. Prize Picks has added an extra layer of excitement to the holiday sports schedule. Early payout feature, by the way, is a great bonus with Prize Picks. When your lineup starts strong, you may get the option to cash out early, and the new stacks feature allows you to choose the same player for up to 3 different stat projections in one lineup. Let's say it might be touchdown passes. Let's say it might be a quarterback's passing yards. Also, you could use that same quarterback, or you could say, hey, Tyrese Maxey, points, assists, everything else. Tyrese Maxey gets you covered for that as well. Download the Prize Picks app today and use promo code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's promo code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineups. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. And also the Everydayer Club. We've been talking a lot about this. Hopefully you guys are taking advantage of getting in on the Everydayer Club. Just go to LockedOn76ers.supercast.com and you guys can take advantage of what the Everydayer Club has to offer. Most notably, what you guys can do is ad-free episodes. That's right. Ad-free audio feed for Locked On 76ers, compatible with Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and other major podcast apps. So take advantage. LockedOn76ers.supercast.com for the Everydayer Club. I know Nick Nurse isn't the most popular person in Philadelphia with a lot of Sixers fans. I know a lot of people are upset with him. I do have to say this, though. I think everyone needs to acknowledge how difficult it has to be when you don't know what your starting lineups are. Last year, I forget the exact number. I want to say 58 different starting lineups last year, most of the NBA, like ever. And then this year, Embiid, Paul George, now the illness, Kelly Oubre, Jared McCain goes to the G League. Now he comes back. This is a very tall order, Keith. Bona missed time. Dominic Barlow missed time. He turns out to be one of your starters. The fluidity of the availability of this team has to be a very tough code to crack for Nick Nurse, Keith. How do you think he ends up cracking this, and does he do it in the near future?
You know what? How does he end up cracking it? I think that he ends up cracking it. Well, I think in order for him to crack it, a lot of guys got to get healthy, right? That's the one thing. Secondly, I think you got to get buy-in. Like, you have to get buy-in from Joel Embiid to, like, play a different style away or mix it up from time to time, but play a different style, when they get out and go. I mean, the thing, like you said, Nick is a good coach. A lot of people don't, maybe some, when he was in Toronto, everybody was raving over him. And then he comes here, and now people are like the same Sixers fans who raved over him then are saying, wow, I don't see it. I don't see it. But in order for him to crack it, I think that it has to come down to guys being on the floor together and getting these reps. Because here's the thing. When we look at the defense, right, we look at how poorly they shot the ball, right? Well, that's because Quentin Grimes wasn't out there helping to stretch the floor, right? We look at it because, you don't see the VJ Edgecomb element that you have to be aware of. And then defensively, you look at Michael Porter. The one thing that Kelly Oubre did that was kind of overlooked a little bit is he shut Michael Porter down, right? Well, Kelly Oubre wasn't out there. So I do feel like when you get health, things are going to basically figure itself out. Now, again, I would love to see what these guys, a healthy Sixers team, would do against Oklahoma City, the best team in the NBA, what they would do again against the New York Knicks. But right now they're undermanned, and he just has to do a little bit of patchwork to where we talked about yesterday. You got the twin towers out there with Embiid and Drummond. Then you got the undersized small ball lineup. Right now he's just throwing paint against the wall and hoping that it sticks.
Yeah, I'm trying everything.
Yeah,
I know we talked about it yesterday, but the at the question, hey, you had Jabari Walker and Bona out there too at the same time. Were you just sacrificing offense for size? And he literally, not in a mean way, but like snickered at it. Like, what do you want me to do? Like I'm trying everything. Literally at that point, that's what he said. I tried everything, and it's like, I can't really blame him considering nothing was working. So, look, do you want a coach to just be like, nope, this is it? Or do you want a coach to be like, no, this totally isn't working? I think anyone that watched the game against the Nets looked at that game and went, yeah, no. Start mixing in the different lineups, start looking for, some kind of chemistry. And unfortunately, they never really found it. But it also goes to show you the importance. You mentioned Quentin Grimes. I mean, I'm trying to think about it now. I'm trying to think back to the summer and trying to evaluate like VJ Edgecomb and what he could bring to the Sixers. You talk about guys exceeding expectations. We've talked about Dom Barlow as being that under-the-radar guy that has really exceeded expectations. VJ Edgecomb looks like, we always talk about adjustments, and we were curious to see whether or not Jared McCain would have made the adjustment after, like a great 20 games that he had in his rookie campaign to like the final 3 or 4 that he played, where it looked like the league was figuring him out, then he had to make that adjustment. It seems like VJ Edgecomb now has kind of fought through that time where it's like, all right, the league, I have to adjust to the league, to my team, what the team needs from me, and still be able to put my best foot forward. it seems like right now, and I know it's, hopefully coming off the illness very soon, it looks like VJ Edgecomb has started to push his way through that and figure it out again. In other words, adjusting to the league's adjustment on him.
Yeah, that too. But I also think there's two other things that's helping VJ Edgecomb. One is he had that time off. I felt like VJ Edgecomb in the beginning of the season, him playing like 38 minutes a game, which he was doing, right? I felt like that's a lot for a rookie who in the college game is only 40. And then you're playing every other night or whatever. I felt like he was burnt out. Now he was able to figure things out, because when you're sitting out there and you're watching, you get to learn things. Another thing that I feel like that's been really impactful to VJ Edgecomb, more so than what people will give the guy credit for, is Paul George has been his mentor, right? Telling him everything. Now he already has Tyrese Maxey in his ear. He had Joel Embiid in his ear. But now that Paul is on the floor, if you notice, every time there's a break in action, like if somebody's at the foul line, you'll see these two dudes standing there mid-court just yapping. He's always in his ear telling him what to do. But the main thing that he keeps telling him is, bruh, you got to be more aggressive. You got to go. Like, you are that guy. You got to do this. You can do it. So I feel like, yes, he broke through a little bit, but I think that, and he even said this, that now he feels a little bit more, he has his legs under him. He feels a little bit more rejuvenated. The time off was good for him. But I'm telling you, having a guy like Paul George, a future Hall of Famer, a perennial all-star, one of the best two-way players that the league has seen, right, had in his ear telling him what to do, I think that goes a long way.
No, I think that's, I would agree with that as well. And yeah, you're right. The layoff with the NBA Cup and like basically having 2 bye weeks, like, you're right. That's also helped, I guess, rejuvenate VJ Generator.
And I'm also I'm also talking about that, but I'm also talking about the layoff that he got with. You remember when he had the calf issue and he missed those games? Yeah. So like, I think that helped him out too. Believe it or not. Now, you don't want to miss games because of an injury, but I felt like it was trending the wrong way and until he came back. You know what I mean?
Like,
it
absolutely.
Was trending the wrong way. Yeah.
Fair enough. All right, when we come back, there's one role player that I think you described. I'm going to put a name on it when we come back. And also, number 1 Christmas gift. Keith Pompey, going all the way back to your childhood. Or maybe you got it in adulthood. I don't know. I know I remember mine. I still have it, as a matter of fact, and I got it in 2nd grade. Talk about that when we return. This is Locked On 76ers on the Locked On 76ers YouTube channel. How about DoorDash? DoorDash is fantastic. With the season heating up, obviously, DoorDash has ways to keep you in your bag the whole way through the season, whether you're watching the highlights, whether tunnel fits, you like the tunnel fits for the players, right? That drip, your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season so much more fun because every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need a dessert now, and that's where DoorDash comes in. Group chat says pull up. That's all you need. DoorDash makes you show up prepared with snacks, cups, phone charger even. For a friend who's always on 2%, DoorDash is where you're at. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, gear, whatever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash in your bag all season long. You mentioned a center, Keith, that can run the floor. You mentioned a center that could block shots. You mentioned a center that can, get up and finish off an alley-oop, finish off them lobs. That's what a Bona was looking like for a minute. Then he had an injury. And now it looks like he's a guy that's trying to get back into the swing of things. I mean, do you see Adem Bona as potentially going into being that guy that could be that athletic center? I mean, maybe a little undersized, obviously, but still being able to run the floor, finish the lobs, get blocks, and all that. Do you think the Sixers are waiting on him to kind of blossom as the season goes on?
I mean, if they don't make a trade, I think they're going to have to. But at the same time, I feel like he's a guy that you look at it and you say to yourself, horses for courses, not the Still Browns thing, but against certain teams. But yeah, I think he can develop into that guy. Here's the problem with Adem. Adem is a foul waiting to happen more often than not.
Yep.
And it's like, his aggressiveness gets him in trouble at times. And I think that when you do that, sometimes it becomes hard to play you, especially in like important games, and especially in the playoffs where each possession matters. If a guy is getting fouls like this and putting people on the foul line left and right, it's like, yo, you're getting free. You're giving up easy points, easy buckets. Or not buckets, but easy points at the foul line. So I just feel like he needs to mature. His game has to mature to where he stays out of foul trouble. But aside from that, he does the things that you like. He can run the floor. He can block shot. He can get dunks. And he is the prototypical guy that you would like to run with VJ Edgecomb and Tyrese Maxey. He just has to stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, that's why, everyone was telling me, don't worry about the summer league. You get 10 fouls, so go ahead and get 9. Yeah, don't. Don't get 9. Don't even get 5. Don't even get 3. Maybe 3. But move your feet, Adem. Don't get into the bad habits. Don't get lazy feet and try to make up by reaching, all that stuff. That's how you get into foul trouble. I really hope the Sixers can somehow help him. Talk about cracking the code with Nick Nurse. Crack the code with Adem Bona, so he's not fouling nearly as much. Keith, favorite Christmas present as a kid, what was it?
So this is funny. This is hilarious. It was the favorite Christmas present, but it was also the worst Christmas present because we didn't utilize it. One year, my father bought us a snowmobile, right? Now, the thing is, growing up he bought us a snowmobile. It was crazy. So it was like, yay! So he brought us a snowmobile. But you got to realize, I grew up in Frankfurt. I grew up on Tacoma Street.
Yeah, I didn't know you to be a mountain man, but okay.
Yeah, exactly. So they had a lot across the street where, it used to be like a factory and they tore it down. So it was like a real big lot. So you could, when it was snowing, you could go in there and do stuff. But for the most part, you would have to go to, the Poconos or go to the Plateau or go Belmont Plateau, stuff like that, which was cool, but we just didn't do it enough. So after a couple of years, the snowmobile was just in the basement, like in the garage, in the back area, right? And it was just became, something that you put boxes on top of. But that was the best one initially. But then after a while, it was like,
just took up space.
With this, man? What are we gonna do with this? What are we gonna do with this? 2 kids, like me and my sister, twins in Philly, right? And in Frankfurt, and on Tacoma Street with a snowmobile. But it was cool.
I'm not kidding when I say this. This has nothing to do with the Christmas gift for me. But if I saw anyone in Philly with a snowmobile, let alone Frankfurt, I'd just be like, what planet am I on? Where am I? And I will share this with you. The only thing weirder, and this is something I actually saw, this is when I lived in Fairmount. I was walking around one of the parks, one of the playgrounds with my daughter, and we just went into the woods. There's a little wooded area, a little trail, but behind the art museum, there's train tracks there. You can look down and look at the train or whatever. I saw a dog sled. I'm not kidding. I saw a dog sled. I saw a kid that could not have been more than 7 years old being pulled by 2 huskies on a dog sled as the parents just kind of like walked. One was in front, one was behind. And I said, if you would have given me 5 lifetimes in Philadelphia and they would have said, do you think you'll ever see a dog sled? I would have bet everything ever in all those lifetimes, every dollar I would amass, and say, no, I would never see a dog sled, but yet I saw a dog sled. The only thing that would be weirder is Keith Pompey on a snowmobile.
I mean, we would go down like to the projects and like where the park is, and we were like on there with that and everything, but it was popular. Everybody's like, yo, can we get a ride? Yeah, sure. But then after a while, it just became furniture. But it was like, yo, I mean, it became something to put the boxes on in the garage, you know?
Right, I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah, one of those. But yeah, it was cool. But I laugh at that. Like, you know, in the past, he got me a pool table and did a lot of other things. But yeah, but the snowmobile was the best one initially. And then after a while, it was like, oh, this is just furniture. Something to put the boxes on.
Well, when I was in second grade, I was going through a big Rocky kick. That's when I was introduced to Rocky. So I begged, again, second grade, I begged Santa Claus for a actual Everlast punching bag.
Oh, okay.
And I still have it to this day. It's the best.
Wow. So you had a big one, and
I was in second grade. The thing was bigger than me, Keith. But I also, you remember the Sugar Ray Leonard boxing platforms? You stand on the platform and they had it looked like a speed bag, and you can punch it and it would go away and come back. I went through 7 of those. Like I kept breaking them, not because I was strong, but because I would just get bored and start hitting it with a baseball bat.
Okay, player.
I think I had a lot of anger.
I was strong. Now, don't tell me you got to register your guns right when you go play. You got to register. You're breaking.
Typical kid mind. I'm done punching it. Where's the baseball bat? Anyway, that's how that happened. Keith, Merry Christmas to you. Merry Christmas to all those who celebrate. Happy holidays. All that jazz. Thank you. We'll be back with you guys tomorrow to break it down. Actually, no, wait. Friday. Yeah, we'll break it all down further with you on Locked On 76ers. Have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your holiday, everybody. Talk to you guys later.